Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our municipal planning regular council meeting for today, the 28th of January. I'll call this meeting to order at 9:35. And I will report that we have all members of council here, as well as our municipal clerk. The territorial land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge that the township of Allen-McCullough is located on the Mississaugan-Ashaninbenk territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan-Ashaninbenk. The township of Allen-McCullough respectively acknowledges that the Mississaugan Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and the integrity for generations to come. I'm going to move on to item 3, which is motion to approve the agenda. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allen-McCullough enact as follows: that the agenda for the municipal planning regular council meeting held on January 28th, 2025 be approved. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Nobody has anything to declare. That'll be duly noted. And the next one is a bylaw number 11-2025, to appoint a committee of adjustment to the township of Allen-McCullough for the period of 2025. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allen-McCullough enact as follows: that bylaw 11-2025, being a bylaw to appoint a committee of adjustment in the township of Allen-McCullough in the year 2025, be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 28th day of January 2025. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth. And seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we're going to move over to our land division / committee of adjustment meeting. And I'll call this meeting to order. First of all, I need a motion to go into this committee. Okay. That the council of the township of Allen-McCullough, being a land division committee or a committee of adjustment, move to the land division committee or the committee of adjustment meeting at 9:37 a.m. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion's carried. I'll call this meeting to order at 9:38. And I will confirm that all members of the committee, as well as the secretary treasurer, are here for this meeting. Territorial land acknowledgement. We respectively acknowledge the township of Allen-McCullough is located on the Mississaugan-Ashaninbenk territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississaugan-Ashaninbenk. The township of Allen-McCullough respectively acknowledges that the Mississaugan Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these waters and lands in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and the integrity for generations to come. Next, we're moving on to the agenda. And the recommendation is that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment / Land Division Committee meeting held on January 28, 2025 be approved. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Seeing none, moving on. The first item we have is the minutes. And these minutes are from our Committee of Adjustment Land Division meeting held on December 17th, 2024. It is recommended the Council of the Township of Alma Cullivan enact as follows, that the minutes for the Committee of Adjustment / Land Division Committee meeting held on December 17th be approved. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Board Member Ainsworth, seconded by Board Member O'Neill. Further discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried. Now we're going on to consents. And we have a request for a cancellation certificate from Andres Mikos and Maria Simontosko. And that is AH 13-2022. I believe you have a little bit of comments for this one, Ms. Planner.
On September 24th, 2024, the Land Division Committee approved application AH 1024 for the severance of a parcel of land for a lot adjustment. The applicant submitted the application to reconfigure the parcel that was originally severed for a residential lot through application A13-2022. The cancellation certificate will ensure that the lot addition will be merged with the parcel intended for the residential lot. The detailed request for the cancellation certificate was included with the report. The Planning Act does not require planning analysis for the request for the cancellation certificate. Approval of this request will satisfy a condition of approval for the lot line adjustment application. And in accordance with the fees and charges bylaw 78/2024, which came into effect on January 1st, the applicant will be required to pay $3,300 for the certificate of cancellation prior to its issuance. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you note this over left? Please. Oh, you just grab a code. So you don't have to record. Thank you, Tracy. Does any member of council have questions regarding this application? Seeing none. Is there a representative from Mr. Mikos or Miss Simontosko? That's close enough, I hope. Pardon me? Simonesco. Okay, thank you. Is anybody representing them here today that wishes to comment? Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public to if they have any comments. I understand there are some members of the public that are here or are not here, but may want to comment. We don't have anybody from the floor that wants to comment. So anybody on virtually, would they like to make a comment?
If you'd like to speak to this application, you can raise your hand by selecting Alt-Y if you're using Windows or Option-Y if you're using a Mac. Chair Logel, I do have one member from the public, Diane Davey, with a hand raised for this.
Okay, what was the name again?
Diane Davey.
Diane. Diane, would you like to go ahead and speak?
Hi, sorry, I'm not quite sure where this piece of land is because there's some land trying to divide it that's attached to my land. I'm not sure if this is the same. Could you say the lot number or whatever I have here on my letter?
Just a moment, please.
Sure.
Tracy's looking that up.
Okay, thanks.
Tracy?
Yes, updates.
Apologies, our battery died in the microphone. The lot is completely within the Mikos and Simonesco's property, located within concession 2, part lots 14 and 15. I'll just get their address for you. It's 2182 Shelter Valley Road. So the land.
Okay, sorry. That's not the one I'm looking at on my letter. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the public? Seeing none, we'll read off the resolution that a certificate of cancellation be issued by the committee in relation to consent AH 13, 2022, registration number ND 247381 that pertains to part lot 14, concession 2, Haldeman, part 1, 39R14539, pin 511350286 in the township of Allen McCalderman. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by member Stover and seconded by member Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Our next application is request for a cancellation certificate from Colin and Ruth Watson, AH 06202. And it is a recommendation for cancellation as well. Tracy, are you prepared to talk to this one?
Yes, thank you. This application was submitted in relation to an application for severance for AH 12/2024. It was approved for the creation of a rural residential lot. Through the review of the application, it was noted that the official plan policies permit a maximum of 2 lots to be severed from a property, which is less than 36 hectares, as the property existed in 1990. Since there were already 2 previous severances, the applicant decided to cancel the vacant lot created by AH 6/2022 in favor of the conditionally approved lot that was created through application AH 12/2024. The Planning Act requires no planning analysis for the cancellation certificate, and there is not a public meeting component for this type of application. Approval of this request will satisfy the condition of approval for application AH 12/2024 to create a rural residential lot. In accordance with the fees and charges bylaw, the applicant will be required to pay $300 for the cancellation certificate prior to the issuance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members have a question for Tracy? Is there an applicant or is there someone representing Mr. and Mrs. Watson? Anybody online that wishes to comment on this? Are there members of the gallery that wish to comment on this? Seeing none, I'll read the resolution that certificate of cancellation be issued by the committee in relation to consent AH 06/2022 that pertains to part lot 23, concession B, Haldeman, part 1, plan 39R 14618, pin 511370894 in the township of Elmwood, Haldeman. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by member O'Neill and seconded by member Booth. Further discussion? All in favor? That cancellation is approved. Next, we're going on to application 7-3, which is an application for consent by a number 2821425 Ontario Incorporated, Gregory Burnett. And I think I'll ask Tracy to go ahead with this one right now. Please.
The purpose of application is to sever a 4.76 hectare lot, retaining a 1.7 hectare lot which has a dwelling and accessory building on the property. The subject property is located in the northeast quadrant of the township on the east side of Quail Road, north of Clark Road, and south of Webb Road. There is an existing single detached dwelling and accessory building on the property. It also contains a tributary of Percy Creek and field verified wetlands, which are identified in the attachments. The topography of the site varies considerably, rising along a drumlin to the northeast. The area is largely agricultural with scattered rural residential lots. The property is designated rural in the township of Almux, Haldeman's official plan. The PPS does require for natural features to be protected for the long term. Development is proposed to be located in an area that is beyond the 30-meter buffer from the wetlands. And it's recommended that a rezoning be included as a condition of approval to identify those features. There's also a recommendation for an archaeological assessment to conform with section 4.6 of the PPS. The Lower Trent Conservation Authority reviewed the proposal and responsibility in regards to their responsibility for natural natural hazards identified in section 5.2. Based on their review, the characteristics of the water course and contributing drainage areas, they have identified that floodplain mapping would not be warranted at this time. The proposal is therefore consistent with the provincial planning statement. The proposal is also in conformity with the county's official plan and the township's official plan. The zoning bylaw zones the property as rural in bylaw 19/2019, which does permit a wide range of uses, including the single detached dwelling uses. The proposed severed and retained lots do not meet the required 5 hectare minimum lot area. Therefore, they both require rezoning to address that deficiency. The wetlands and regulatory buffer will also be placed in an environmental protection zone. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies for comment. Public Works had no concerns, but they did meet with the applicant on site to review the entrance. It will need to be located in the northwest portion of the severed lot on Quail Road. Entrance and building permits will be required prior to construction. The building department also had no concerns with the proposal. County staff offered no objections to the proposal. They advised that there will not be adverse impacts on nearby county roads or infrastructure, and there will be the availability of curbside waste collection. Sewage permits will be required for any new dwellings constructed. The property is not significant. The county advised that the property is not significantly disturbed and contains a water course. Therefore, it's suggested that the archaeological site assessment be conducted. The Lower Trent Conservation Authority advised that although it appears the driveway crossing Percy Creek may be possible, it is yet to be demonstrated through technical submission. The applicant will have to either provide a site plan demonstrating sufficient space for a building envelope west of the water course, or submit technical information demonstrating conformity with the water course crossing policies. It's recommended that the wetlands again and setbacks be placed into restrictive zoning, provided the technical submission is provided. They have no concerns with the consent. Notice of the application was provided to all registered owners within 60 meters or 200 feet, and signs were posted on the property. Planning staff had not received any submissions to date. The proposed severed lot is located in a rural part of the municipality with frontage on Quail Road, which is a year-round maintained road. A rezoning is required to address the lot area, which does not conform with the rural zone provisions. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement and maintains the intent of the Northumberland County and Township official plans. In addition to the typical recommendations, we are asking for the archaeological site assessment, and I have prepared alternative wording for that as well as a rezoning. So we're proposing that the condition number 6 be revised to state that an archaeological site assessment be prepared by a qualified professional, e.g. archaeologist, and submitted for review. The recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, Land Division Committee / Committee of Adjustment. The applicant must provide acknowledgement of submission of the assessment to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. So the change is to address the need to implement the recommendations. We have seen studies that have come in recently where there are specific recommendations that should be addressed either through rezoning or through an agreement. So that change will make sure the recommendations of any archaeological assessment will be captured, and I'll pass that on to you.
Thank you. I was trying to write it all down and I got behind, so. Thank you, Tracy. Yeah. Okay, members of committee, do you have any questions regarding this application? Seeing none, is there someone here representing the applicant? Seeing none, I will open it up to members of the public to make your questions or comments. And I see we still have some people online, and so would anyone want to speak to this application?
Chair Local, we do have one member of the public online who'd wish to speak, Mr. Greg Burnett.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Burnett. Mr. Burnett? Or Mr.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to, say that I am here. I am the applicant and happy to answer any questions. Tracy's covered it all, I think, but I just wanted to make it known that I am here.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Does members of council have any questions to this gentleman? I think you're off the hook unless you wanted to answer some questions. Okay, I'm going to read the resolution then. That application AH21/2024 by 2821425 Ontario Incorporated, Gregory Burnett, to sever a parcel of land for the creation of a vacant rural residential lot in part lot 22, concession 5, geographically into the township of Ellenwick, is hereby approved subject to the following conditions. That a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. In addition to the registered survey, a geo-referenced DWG file of the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township and Northumberland County. That it be demonstrated that through a technical submission that a building envelope is available west of the watercourse, or technical information is provided to demonstrate conformity with the Lower Trent Conservation Watercourse crossing policies. Number 4, that a draft transfer and certificate of official for the severed parcels be submitted to the township. Number 5, that the tax account for the subject property be paid to date. Number 6, and this one is the one that's being adjusted, that an archaeological site assessment be prepared by a qualified professional, example, an archaeologist, and submitted for review. That the recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfactory of the Secretary Treasurer of the Land Division Committee or the Committee of Adjustment, and the applicant must provide acknowledgement of submission of the assessment to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. Number 7, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed and retained parcels pursuant to the Planning Act. Number 8, that the $12,796 and 34-cent development charge for the severed lot be paid to the Township of Allen-McAlderman. That cash in lieu of parkland to be paid to the Township of Allen-McAlderman at a rate of 5% of the value of the land that day being approved was granted, before the approval was granted. The value of the land is to be determined by a certified appraisal or sale price for the land, provided it occurred within 12 months of the approved date, and that the $300 be paid for the issuance of the certificate of official in accordance with the bylaw 78-2024 fees and charges. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by member Stover, seconded by member Booth. Are there any further questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Next, we have another applicant, and this application for consent by Albert Anderson. PLN 2025-06, and the application for consent is by Albert Anderson. Tracy, do you have fill us in on this, please?
The subject lands are located south of County Road 2, west of Archer Road, and east of Brookside Road. There's an existing farm and outbuildings on the site. The purpose of the applications is to sever 2.4 hectare or 1 acre lots, rural residential lots. It's intended that the lots will share the driveway with the retained lands. There are farmlands and rural residential lots in the vicinity of the subject property. A horse barn is located at 10056 County Road 2, just north of the subject lands. The CN-CPR rail line is located at the south end of the property, approximately 1,000 meters from the proposed lots. Existing mapping indicates that there are unevaluated wetland features throughout the northeastern and western portions of the subject lands, and also southerly portions. There's a tributary of Lake Ontario that travels within the boundary of the eastern corner of the parcel, which can be seen on the attachments. The property is primarily designated rural with a small area designated environmental protection in the northeast and southwest corners of the property. The PPS does permit lot creation within rural lands, provided the service levels are appropriate. Section 4.1 requires natural features to be protected. The development that is proposed is outside of the wetlands and their associated 30-meter buffer. The PPS also does not permit development and site alteration on lands containing archaeological resources or areas with archaeological potential unless the resources have been conserved. There's a requirement for compliance with minimum distance separation and a MDS or MDS. MDS calculation was prepared for the horse barn, which results in a 224-meter setback. The lots are beyond that setback, so they are in conformity. Lower Trent Conservation Authority reviewed their responsibility in regards to the natural heritage policies in section 5.2. They determined that based on their review and the characteristics of the watercourse, engineered floodplain mapping is not warranted to define the flood hazard at this time. Therefore, the proposal is consistent with the PPS. The proposal also conforms with Northumberland County and the township official plan policies, which are consistent with the PPS. The zoning bylaw identifies the property as rural with an environmentally sensitive area in the northwest corner. The rural zone does permit a wide range of uses, including single detached dwellings. However, the minimum lot size is 5 hectares and the frontage is 60 meters. The proposed lots do not meet that 5 hectare minimum lot area, so our rezoning will be required. Departments and agencies were circulated the application. The Public Works and Building Department had no concerns with the proposal, as did Canadian Pacific Railway, as the lots are beyond the distance requiring a noise study to be completed. Lower Trent had no objections to the approval. The severed parcels appear to be outside of regulated features and areas, and therefore no permit would not be required. Any further development on the retained lands within the regulated area should be reviewed by their office, and detailed comments were provided to the applicant, so they're aware of the regulated areas. Alderville First Nations noted that there is a stream ravine within approximately 100 meters of the lots. The subject lands are also in proximity to a historic road, which indicates a high potential for archaeological resources. Therefore, the archaeological study is recommended. Northumberland County staff noted that the site is not significantly disturbed and contains a water course. As such, it meets the criteria for submission of an archaeological assessment. The property is in proximity to a wetland feature, and they noted that Lower Trent and the township should be satisfied if the requirements are met there. As a condition of the severance, the applicant, in consultation with an Ontario land surveyor, will be required to provide a road widening of 18.25 meters measured from center line across the frontages of the proposed severed and retained parcels. If county staff determines that a road widening is required, it must be dedicated, free and clear of all encumbrances. To ensure that proper sight lines are maintained, the county requires that the vehicular entrance serving the severed parcels be provided from the existing approved entrance on the retained parcel. These entrances could be secured through a long-term access easement over a portion of the existing driveway to the satisfaction of the township and the county. Public notice was provided to all registered owners within 60 meters of the subject property. We have not received any comments to date. The proposed severed lots are located in a rural part of the municipality with frontage on County Road 2, which is a year-round county maintained road. The rezoning is required to address the lot area, which does not conform to the rural provisions. In addition to typical standard conditions, there is the requirement for the archaeological assessment, and I've provided revised wording for condition number 5. There's also the requirement for the surveyor to confirm whether the 18.25 road widening is required along the frontage of the severed and retained parcels. There's also the requirement for the easement for the shared driveway and a rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Webster. I have a question regarding the easement, or not the, well, I guess it is the easement, but the properties, they're still have a frontage on a maintained road.
That's correct.
Okay.
So they're cited so that they're on either side of the existing driveway. So the driveways for the proposed lots will likely need to connect to the existing driveway with an easement over that portion of the driveway to secure for the shared use over.
Okay, but there is frontage on a main road,
That's
which is what it would have to be in order to do that. Okay, thank you. Member Stover.
To Madam Planner, I just looking at the 0.4% or 4 hectares, which is, I just looked this up, so is 98.9 or 98.8 of an acre. I was wondering why it's not an acre, because I thought they had to be acre lots, unless my Google search is off a bit.
yeah, that typically you'd round up to the nearest decimal point, but the zoning regulations are written in metric. So it's
So
written
it's
as
losing it.
0.4 hectares. People commonly like to refer to the acreage. So it's close to, very close to an acre. If you were to round it up, it would be.
Do you have another follow-up?
Yeah, just another question, Mayor Lowell, if I might, to Madam Planner. And it has to do with why the shared driveway and why wouldn't these be coming off County Road 2?
Planner, would you go ahead and answer that question, please?
Amount of traffic and speed and distances between driveways. I think there's certain standards that they have where driveways should be separated. If the lots were to be moved, they likely wouldn't meet sightline requirements. So the safest solution is to have the shared access. So it's limiting the number of driveways onto a busy road and also addressing any issues with fence that might be in the area in terms of seeing it up the driveway when you're making a turn.
Makes sense. Thank you.
And following up, if I could on that, so that there has to be culverts probably put in, or does there? I guess we don't have any control of that.
Well, the culvert would be there, the existing driveway. Expect that is already onto County Road 2, so
Yeah.
I would expect that the driveways connect from flat lot onto that driveway, so that then they're able to get access on County Road 2. So that driveway's already been, I believe their comment said that driveway had been approved, so they
Yeah.
would have looked at it to see
The
if
width.
it meets their standards.
But my question, I guess, is in a different way. We are not required to put a culvert where the easement is, or yeah, where the easement is.
No,
Going into the home.
so if there was a culvert requirement, that's typically addressed through the permitting requirements. for
Okay.
driveways, and the applicants would be responsible for that work. So it's not something that the township would do. Typically, when somebody inquires about a potential severance, I advise the county that someone's looking at it so that they'll go out ahead of time to have a look and see if there's any concerns, so that can be communicated to the applicant before they even make an application.
Thank you. Any other members have a question? Member O'Neill?
It's actually a curiosity. In number 11, it references a certificate of official. What exactly is a certificate of official?
So once the applicant fulfills all of their conditions, we release a certificate of official that goes to their lawyer that enables them to have the lot registered. There's usually a lot of work that happens after, like today's date. I have to review like the archaeological assessments, then the surveys, then the draft transfer. So we're trying to recover a lot of the costs that we put into reviewing the applications, and that's one component of it.
Thank you. Any other further questions from council? Seeing none, we'll open this to the public, or pardon me, the applicant first. Is Mr. Anderson or a representative here? Good morning, Mr. Anderson. Do you have any questions or comments for the planner? You'll have to grab the mic because we're.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but you won't be heard on to the public outside. Yeah, you have a clear voice.
Thank you very much, Council. No, the only thing I wanted to say was I know that a lot of the, people don't want, I'm sorry, the township doesn't want a lot of egress onto Highway 2. And that's why there's a common driveway. But I just add to that from that driveway, there is clear view for a kilometer in each direction. With no obstructions, there's no hills or anything like that, and so I don't think safety is going to be a problem as far as that goes in the common driveway.
Thank you. And it is we're the governing, but the township, pardon me, the county actually owns County Road 2.
Yes, okay.
So just to clarify. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Am I call you Albert? Okay, thank you, Albert. Is there any other members of the public who wish to make a comment on this application? Seeing none, there could be somebody virtually, and clerk, can you check on that, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have Diane Davy with her hand raised online.
Diane Beatty?
Davy?
Davy, okay. Diane, can you hear us?
Hi, yeah, sorry to, I just wanted to clarify, I couldn't hear Tracy when she was saying something about the driveways are attached to the existing driveway or something. I couldn't hear why they said that they weren't going to have a culvert and go onto Highway 2. I'm just curious as to why they were doing it that way.
Okay, Tracy, can you respond to that?
Yes.
Tracy's microphone wasn't working very well. Couldn't hear a thing.
Yes, the driveways for the proposed lots will enter into the driveway for the existing property that's already established, and I expect the culvert is already there. The county staff would have reviewed that driveway to make sure that it meets the current standards.
Oh,
Thanks.
okay. I couldn't hear what you were saying before. You were giving an explanation. Sorry. I just couldn't hear it. So it is, just to be clear, these lots are just for building a house on? Like they're, that's what the purpose is?
Yes.
Okay. Like a single dwelling. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Diane. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Member Stover.
Because this, road that these two residents.
Oh, now I can't hear this lady either.
My mic.
Yep, we got it. She's going to do it again, Diane.
Sorry.
Through you, Mayor Logal, just a comment. It's a bit of a unique situation when you are having a shared driveway for two properties. Number one, is that road going to be widened a bit? I'm not sure if, I apologize if I missed that part. Number two, this road is going into a residence, a farm. So it's just a comment. I'm just hoping that we won't get into a situation where the people that buy these lots to build, it could be a lot of traffic during different times. So I'm not sure if that came into play or not.
Go
Yes,
ahead.
through the chair, so the easement would have to be registered on the properties on both the
Mhm.
separate and retained landowners would be fully aware. Mr. Anderson, when he is going to sell those lots, it would be disclosed through the lawyers that that would be in place. I would expect 3 lots wouldn't generate a ton of traffic coming in and out where we would need to be concerned with that. It's the biggest concern would be multiple driveways in close proximity entering into a busy county road. It would be the primary concern.
It if I may, was the road going to be widened through your Mayor Local to Madam Clerk
I'm not
or
sure.
Madam Planner?
Go ahead.
The chair. To widen it.
Okay.
But I, just traveling on it, it is quite busy, so it would be the volume, that would be the concern.
I meant the shared road.
Yeah, the shared road she's talking about rather than the County Road 2.
There was no specific comments requiring that. They mentioned that the driveway was approved, so
Mhm.
I wouldn't expect that alterations would be required.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other further questions from council? Seeing none, I'll read the resolution. that application AH 222024 and 232024 by Albert Anderson to sever 2 parcels of land for the creation of 2 vacant rural residential lots in part lot 33 concession A, geographically the township of Haldeman, is hereby approved subject to the following conditions: that a registered survey for the severed parcel be submitted to the township. Number 2, in addition to the registered survey, a geo-referenced DWG file of the survey be provided, excuse me, in a format satisfactory to the township and Northumberland County. Number 3, that a draft transfer and certificate of official for the severed parcels be submitted to the township. Number 4, that the tax account for the subject property be paid up to date. Number 5, that an archaeological site assessment be prepared by a qualified professional, an archaeologist, for example, and submitted for review. The recommendations are to be implemented to the satisfactory of the treasurer, secretary treasurer, the land division committee, or the committee of adjustment. And the applicant must provide acknowledgement of submission of the assessment to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. Number 6, that the applicant is consultation with an Ontario land surveyor must ensure that and provide for a road widening totaling 18.25 meters measured from the existing center line of County Road 2 across the frontage of the proposed severed and retained parcels. If county staff determine that a county road widening is required, it must be dedicated free and clear of encumbrances to the county's satisfaction. Number 7, that the applicant provide shared entrance with the severed parcels from the existing approval entrance on the retained parcel. The entrances are to be secured through long-term access easements over a portion of the existing driveway entrance to the satisfaction of the township and the county. That a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed and retained parcels pursuant to the Planning Act. That $12,796.34 development charge for the severed lot be paid to the township of Allen-McAlderman. That cash in lieu of parkland to be paid to the township of Allen-McAlderman, rate of 5% of the value of the land the day before approval was granted. The value of the land is to be determined by a certified appraiser or sale price of the land provided it occurred within 12 months of the approved date. And that $300 be paid for the issuance of the certificate of official in accordance with bylaw 78-2024, fees and charges. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by member Stover, seconded by member Booth. Any further questions? All in favor? That motion is carried. And number 8 is a motion to adjourn from this meeting. That the Committee of Adjustment, the Land Division Committee meeting held on January 28, 2025 be adjourned at 10:23 a.m. Mover and a seconder. Moved by member O'Neill, seconded by member Ainsworth. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Switch back. Everybody okay? Yep, thank you. Okay, we're going to reconvene to a municipal planning / regular council meeting. And I have a motion, prepared motion, that the council of the township of Allen-McAlderman, being a land division committee or the committee of adjustment, reconvene to the municipal planning / regular council meeting at 10:25 a.m. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor O'Neill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? That's carried. Next, we're going into a public meeting. And I'll read the resolution. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen-McAlderman enact as follows. The council go into a public meeting under section 34 of the Planning Act at 10:36 must be getting pretty close, eh? 10:26, pardon me. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. On January 28, 2025, mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? That's carried. Next, we move on to zoning bylaw amendment, and this is for Lisa Brack and John Brack. The number is Z122024. PLN 202501 zoning bylaw amendment for Lisa Brack and Jonathan Brack. Z122024 on January 28, 2025. Tracy, do you have any comments on this? Please go ahead.
So on September the 26th, 2023, the Land Division Committee approved applications AH 14, 2023 and AH 15, 2023 for the severance of 2 rural residential lots. The retained lot has an existing single detached dwelling and a barn that can house 5 horses. This application proposes to amend the zoning of the severed lots to rural residential and to apply rural residential exception to rural residential exception number 66 R-66 to the retained lands. The subject property is located at 158 Leach Road, north of County Road 29 and Harbor Road, east of County Road 45. The property has been cleared and is under active agricultural cultivation with the exception of the southern portion of the property that contains the existing residence and small barn. The lot fabric within lot 17 concession 9 is not typical of a traditional rural area. The lots range from 0.5 hectares to 4.8 hectares. Some of the lots contain residential uses, small farm uses, or are vacant. There is an older wooden barn on the subject property with the ability to house 5 medium horses. There are 2 barns within 750 meters of the subject property with the ability to house livestock. There is also a tributary of Burnley Creek that is within the parcel that abuts the subject lands in the very far northwest corner. The provincial policy designates the property as rural in the official plan, and the rural policies of the PPS allows for rural lot creation that's compatible with the surrounding land uses. The proposed severed and retained lots have been determined to be locally appropriate. And the MDS also the PPS requires compliance with MDS calculations, and those calculations were looked at and are in compliance. Mapping is included within the report that was prepared by Clark Consulting. The tributary of Burnley Creek to the west of the subject property is in compliance with section 5.2 of the PPS in terms of separation distance. There's adequate space on the proposed lots to acknowledge the regulated area while still providing for a building envelope. The proposal is consistent with both the Northumberland County and Township official plans. If within the zoning bylaw, the subject property is zoned rural and environmentally sensitive area. The rural zone permits a wide range of uses, including single detached dwellings. The proposed rezoning to rural residential also permits the single detached dwellings on lots with 0.4 hectares, which is necessary to recognize the lot area which does not conform with the rural minimum of 5 hectares. The retained lots are proposed to be placed in a rural residential exception number 66 zone. This will provide an exception to section 4.16 hobby farms of the general provisions to permit 5 nutrient units to recognize the existing barn, which has the ability to house 5 horses. This exception complies with the minimum distance separation document formula and guidelines for livestock facility and anaerobic digester odor setbacks produced by the Ministry of Agriculture. The environmentally sensitive area zone is an overlay zone and will not be impacted by the amendment. It will remain and is limited to a small area in the northwest corner of the subject property in relation to the water course lands to the west. The permitted uses are the same as the underlying zone classification, which is proposed to be RR. The zoning bylaw does require a 30-meter setback from the water course, and there is adequate plans outside of that for a building envelope. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. Lower Track Conservation had no objections to the approval of the application. And they provided detailed comments, so the applicant is aware of the areas that may be regulated and requiring a permit should development occur in those areas. Northumberland County had no objection to the proposal. Notification was provided to all owners within 120 meters of the subject property, and signs were posted. One call was received from a resident who had general questions on the application and have not identified any specific concerns. The property is located in a rural part of the municipality on Leach Road with frontage on a year-round municipally made portion of that road. There are no natural heritage or natural features on the conditionally approved severed lots. The retained and severed lots do not comply with the minimum lot area for the rural zone. And the existing barn that houses 5 nutrient units will require an exception to the rural residential zone. It doesn't meet the minimum distance separation setbacks. And we are recommending that the zoning be changed in accordance with the
Thank you.
law. Thank you.
Any members of the public have a question or comment on this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have a hand raised from a online participant, Diane Davy.
Diane, please go ahead with your question.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. Oh, I got to hit the lower hand button. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to raise my hand. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Is there any representative from the applicant here that wants to make a comment? Go ahead, Bob.
I think your staff have made a very complete report, and my only purpose in being here was to answer any questions which you may have.
Thank you. Okay, you want to go on to the next one? We'll get to the questions when we read the bylaw or if council has any questions. Or we can do it now, I guess. It's just, yeah, go ahead. Council have any questions for Mr. Planner? I see none, so thank you very much. And the next one we have then is zoning bylaw amendment for Jill and Mark Clintworth. PLN 2025-02 zoning bylaw amendment for Jill and Mark Clintworth Z 132024 on January 25th, 2025. Ms. Planner, please go ahead.
On September 24th, 2024, the Land Division Committee approved applications AH08 2024 and AH09 2024 for the severance of two rural residential lots. It is proposed to amend the zoning of the rural residential lots to rural residential exception number 67 holding, and the retained lands to rural special rural number 155 holding. The subject property is located at 138 Ingham Road, east of Sharon Point Road. There's a single detached dwelling on the property. The northwest portion of the property is on Rice Lake, west of White Island. It contains unevaluated wetland throughout the eastern portion of the property, and there's flood hazard mapping associated with Rice Lake in the northeastern corner of the subject lands. A drumlin with considerable slopes encompasses the majority of the subject lands. There are seasonal dwellings located to the east fronting Rice Lake. The Rice Lake Estate subdivision is located to the north and residential dwellings to the east and north. There are 3 vacant residential lots to the west fronting on Ingham. The majority of the subject property, including the area where the conditionally approved severed lots are located, is designated rural in the township's official plan. There is a portion of the subject property designated environmental protection adjacent to Rice Lake. This designation is more than 500 meters from the proposed lots. The provincial policy statement does support rural lot creation. Section 4.6 does not permit development and site alteration on lands containing archaeological resources or areas of archaeological potential unless significant archaeological resources have been conserved. The Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport provides a checklist for criteria for evaluating archaeological potential. The criteria identify sites within 300 meters of a water body and 300 meters from known archaeological sites as having archaeological potential. The planning department has received confidential mapping of known archaeological sites as a screening tool for archaeological assessments. This mapping suggests that there may be a site on the retained lands, and based on that information and the location within 300 meters of Rice Lake and a wetland, the retained and severed lands meet the criteria for archaeological assessment. PPS section 5.2 requires development to be located outside of hazardous lands. Lower Trent has advised that the proposed development is outside of those areas. The application of the holding symbol will secure for conformity with section 4.6 for the requirement of an archaeological assessment. Based on that, the application would be in compliance with the provincial policy statement. The Northumberland County and Township official plans are consistent with the provincial policy statement, and therefore the proposal does comply with those plans. The zoning on the property is currently rural. The rural zone permits a wide range of uses, including single detached dwellings with lot areas of a minimum 5 hectares and a minimum frontage of 60 meters. These proposed or the conditionally approved severed lots are 2.02 hectares in size, which does not meet the required lot area. The holding symbol is proposed to be added to the conditionally approved severed lots through the rural residential exception number 67 holding zone and on the retained lands through the rural exception number 155 holding zone. The holding symbol is not proposed in the area where the existing single dwelling exists. The holding zone will secure for the completion of an archaeological assessment prior to further development on the lands. Development would include construction and site alteration, and it would not include cultivation of fields for farming purposes. Since the retained lands are just over 29 hectares in size, assessments can be scoped to areas where development would be proposed to reduce the cost of an assessment. The holding symbol can remain on portions of the land that are not intended for development. An additional application will not be required to lift the holding symbol as archaeological assessments are received. The bylaw to lift the holding symbol would be forwarded to council in accordance with the recommendations of the assessment. The application was circulated to a number of departments and agencies. The Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board and Alma Calderman Public Works and Building Departments had no concerns. Public Works advised that entrance locations and elevations for the suburb lots will need to be reviewed prior to the approval of an entrance permit. Northumberland County had no objections. And they advised that there are no adverse impacts on nearby county roads. And prior to the issuance of building permits, a sewage system permit is required. Lower Trent have no objections to the approval. Their detailed comments will be provided to the applicant, so they are aware of the regulated areas on their retained lands. Their comment letter serves as formal clearance for any proposed development on the severed lands. Alderville First Nation advised that an archaeological assessment is required, and they expect to be engaged on the archaeology assessment. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered owners within 120 meters of the subject property, and signs were posted on the site. No submissions were received from the public since the writing of the report. The applicant has provided comments. They are unable to attend today and have requested deferral of the decision on the zoning at this meeting. They acknowledge that we need to proceed with the public meeting component, but they would be appreciative of a deferral to allow them some time to deal with a family situation, as well as understanding some of the complexities regarding the archaeological requirement provided to council. So they have respectfully asked for the deferral, and I would be supportive of that deferral. The subject property is located in the rural part of the municipality with frontage on Ingham Road. As noted, there are no natural heritage features on the conditionally approved severed lots. The severed lots do not comply with the minimum lot area for the rural zone and needs to be rezoned to rural residential to permit the proposed use. And it is proposed to apply the holding symbol to both the retained and severed lots to secure for the completion of the archaeological assessment. That can't occur at this time of year and needs to happen in the warmer months. And the applicant has reached out to consultants and is planning on getting that work started. If council decided to approve the application today, the holding symbol would secure for the completion of the archaeological report. And as studies come in, those holding symbols could be lifted in accordance with the recommendations of that report. The applicant and I have had some discussions, and I am looking into alternative ways to secure for the recommendations of the archaeological assessment. So deferral would be appropriate if council chooses to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members of council have any questions on this? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Logel, to Madam Planner, just a little bit of clarification. We could go ahead and approve this today if council so wishes. But then you mentioned about a deferral. So you're talking about two different things, us approving this and then deferring part of it. I just need a little bit of clarification. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tracy, if you can answer that, please.
Thank you. So if you were to approve it today, it would be in accordance with the bylaw that's attached to the agenda. If you were to defer it, I could have further discussions with the applicant. We could potentially wait until the archaeological assessment is completed. That would give us further direction as to whether the whole municipal could be scoped on the property. And we would come back with a further recommendation report at a later date.
You have a follow-up?
Yeah,
Mayor?
yeah, just to be a little clearer to myself, sorry, Mayor Logal to Madam Planner. Are you suggesting a referral today?
I think it's an appropriate request and I wouldn't be opposed to that happening.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
I'll make a motion to defer.
We're not actually yet, this is the bylaw, correct? So we should really wait till we read the bylaw? Yeah, we're just in a public meeting. We'll wait.
Sorry. Thank you.
Not a problem. Okay, any further questions? Yeah, and just want to make sure that we've given everybody an opportunity to answer, ask any questions. And I believe there's one person on the virtually. Did you have a question regarding this application? Seeing none, we'll move on to the bylaws. But first of all, I have to reconvene to the municipal planning and the regular council meeting. The council of the township of Alma-Culdeman reconvene to the municipal planning regular council meeting at 10:46 a.m. Got to get moving in a seconder. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. Moving on to bylaws, bylaw 12-2025 to amend bylaw 19-2019, which is a zoning bylaw Z12-2024. That bylaw number 12-2025 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 19-19, zoning bylaw Z12-2024 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 28th day of January 2025. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. And this one, which is bylaw 13-2025 to amend bylaw number 19-2019, zoning bylaw Z13-2024. And this is the one that the planner is recommending that we defer. So I'm going to open it up for a mover and a seconder, and then we'll decide whether we follow this resolution or we go with the recommendation of staff.
I'll make the motion to defer.
Okay, moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Booth. All in favor to defer? The motion is carried. Do you need some wording for that or? Good, okay. Thank you. Bylaw 14-2025 to execute a development agreement or a condition of consent AH203224. Bylaw 2025 to execute a development agreement for MOD AH032024. Tracy, I assume you're going to help us with this? This is the MOT application?
It's correct. The bylaw is to approve a development agreement to implement the recommendations of the noise study. And that was identified in the conditions of approval for the consent application.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, I'll read the resolution. The bylaw 14-2025 being a bylaw to execute a development agreement imposed as a condition of consent AH032024 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 28th of January 2025. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion's carried. Next we have a councillor training update. CLK 2025-04, council training update, vendor selection for the 28th day of January 2025. So who's going to lead us through this? Yeah, are you ready, prepared, Miss CAO or Miss? I do that all the time. Sorry about that.
You're getting all our titles mixed up.
Go ahead, Ms. Clerk, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, happy to answer any questions that council has on this report. So this was sort of an update coming to you on previous direction received. So going from there, but very excited to have Town Hall Consulting coming in. We just need to select a date at some point that I'll be reaching out to you with a couple of options that the consultants provided, and we'll get that all-day session in the works. But happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from council? We're happy with what we see? Good. The resolution reads, the council received report CLK 2025-04, council training update, vendor and date for information. And we'll get the date when I would think fairly soon, once we all have an opportunity to put our comments in. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? That motion's carried. Next, we have 1002, which is an addendum. A1 in action, preparation municipalities for the future. And I'm going to ask Councillor O'Neill to make a comment on that, please.
It was Councillor Todd. Why am I drawing a blank on his last name? From Port Hope, who brought this to my attention. So he is working with their mayor to provide this training. In Port Hope, there is a live in person or online, and my preference would be to attend in person. And it's about the role of AI in the future of municipalities. And we just had a planning meeting, and I suspect that's one of the departments where AI is going to make a big difference. But I would like to attend and then bring back what I learned that day.
They already got it. Okay. I have some copies there, but apparently it's already available to you, so we don't need to look at that.
Yeah, it was different because it was a link that was available and not the posters. I looked at it twice as well, Mayor Logo.
Okay. So you'd like to attend virtually?
No, in person
In
would be
person?
my preference, Mayor Logo. I know it's part of our $3,000, so, and it's well under that price, but anyway, I can't remember offhand, but it was under $200 to attend.
Actually, it was $199.
There you go. They really squeaked her in there for us.
No tax.
Anybody else that's wanting to go to this?
I actually have a follow-up question. When I sent this in, there was reference that we were looking at some staff attending as well. Any update on that piece?
Go ahead.
Through Ms.
Ms. Clerk?
There you go. Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, CAO Dawson and I will be attending this as well because it outlines, again, sort of that corporate overarching strategy and how it applies to our departments and how we can roll it out across the corporation as well.
Thank you. And you'll be able to pass on some information to, someone will pass on to members of council that aren't able to attend. Okay. And I'm not committing to it, but I may listen to it virtually. So I guess I need approval from council to do that as well.
I would be in the same boat. I may be able to, at this time, I can't commit, but I could commit to virtual. So I'm just putting it out there. How that would work. Just
ahead.
show up.
Ms. Clerk?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we were also looking at getting a virtual live stream and having staff attend that. They can come and go for the sessions that are relevant to their departments instead of making the full day commitment. So that is something that we're already looking at doing in-house and potentially partnering with two neighboring municipalities as well. So council could be invited to attend if we do firm that up and go with that avenue. Council could
Oh.
attend that virtual section and come and go.
When,
For
at
the-
a later date.
No, it's the same date. It's a
Oh,
live
it's on
stream.
that date. Oh, okay.
Correct.
So do we need approval then to do that through our
It's,
travel budget for attending virtually or not?
yeah. So,
Okay. Okay, thank you. So yes. So I believe we need a mover, and a seconder to approve Councillor O'Neill attending this at the Capitol Theater. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh,
Sorry, I actually do. If the mayor and deputy mayor, should that also be incorporated that so that it doesn't have to be approved in the future if they do choose to attend?
my understanding is that we won't have to pay for it because we'll be attending with members of staff. So, if I understand that correctly, go ahead, Ms. Clerk.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, because we're already looking at doing it at a corporate level, it'd be open to any member of council who wanted to attend that as well, because we're already investing in that. It's not a separate standalone. The standalone for the in-person event would be separate from what we're doing corporately.
oh, good.
All in favor?
Thank you.
That's carried. Number 10.3, budget 2025, additional public consultation request. I've had the clerk want to comment and then we'll open it up to council.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we did, through budget deliberations yesterday out in Roseneath, council did put a request out there that we consider including a public meeting for public consultation on the draft 2025 budget. So we did speak to it briefly yesterday. At this point in time with the budget process and where we're at, we've held a very open, very transparent process to date. We followed all of our legislative requirements and above and beyond by doing the public survey that we held back in August and September with over, I think it was 56 respondents. That information that we received from the public through the survey was distributed to senior leadership team for incorporation when they were building out their issue papers, their budget enhancement requests, and doing their line by lines. That survey information was also then forwarded to council at that point. At the December budget meeting for your consideration as well as we were going through the budget process. At this point in time, because the budget is a operational document between council and staff don't recommend holding a public session at this time to get additional public input. So all of our meetings to date have been open to the public. They're welcome to attend. Our council correspondence process is applicable in this case in that anybody could have submitted written comments at any time for inclusion on the agenda, reached out to any member of council at any time with their questions or comments, or even made a request to be a delegation to council to speak on the budget at the two meetings that we've had. So we are still running a very open, very public, open, transparent, and accountable process. Concerns that staff have at this time by holding another public meeting when we're this far along into the process is a delay in the budget. So we did, as part of our strategic plan, make reference to one of our core goals was to speed up the process so that we could get more timely budget approvals, which helps reduce limbo in terms of the delivery of services. We're not wondering, do we or don't we have approval to move ahead on certain items? As we even saw yesterday, we had items that were approved and are now being deferred after reconsideration and deferred further down the line. So by adding this extra meeting in, certainly it is something that we can arrange public meetings is the nature of our job. We can get that in there, but it will require a drastic adjustment to the budget timelines and the established schedule that we did have looking for approval. Some of the implications with delaying that process, again, is depending on the feedback that comes back, we could have a complete reversal of some of the directions that council have already put into play, as well as all of the hard work that staff have put into this document, getting it to the stage that it's at right now. Again, with the other concern with delaying the process by adding this meeting, when you look at the workload involved in updating our budget package, getting it prepped, allowing the public time to then review it, to make their assessments for this public meeting, we're looking at a potentially 1 to 2, even 3-month delay, again, just based on workload and other engagements that we currently have in the schedule, as well as staff timelines and legislated requirements and other project deadlines that are currently on the go. So it is something that if council wishes us to do, we can certainly take that direction and implement another public meeting, but at this time, staff would recommend perhaps if we are looking at holding a public meeting, incorporating that into the 2026 process, just based on where we're currently at in the 25 process. But I leave that information for council to consider and await your direction.
First of all, I really don't think I would like to hold up the budget process any further. I think we're coming to a place where the budget is where we think it should be based on being elected. And at the same time, I believe that we should be having a public meeting after the budget to explain the position we're in. Actually, and also to perhaps get a survey out before we have that and get a feel. I think Mike, you've mentioned it a couple of times that we should have a public meeting to discuss all of the things that we see coming forth. So the public is actually aware of everything that is there. Anybody else have any comments? Councilor O'Neill.
Yeah, actually, the 2 notes that I've made are rather just reaching out to the public and letting them know that they indeed can provide written comment between now and the February 10th meeting, whether that's through comment or I said, let's talk, because that's what we had before, but because that would allow a central location for people to comment. And if anyone's reaching out to us individually as counselors about it, and I have had some seniors in the community expressing some concern about their ability to have a certain amount of raised, somehow I need a mechanism that's feeding in so all of council is aware that I have had a couple of people reach out on that issue. And then whether or not on February 10th, we would allow any public comment at the beginning of the meeting, but not a separate meeting. But I certainly would like the opportunity for the public to know this is your chance to give us a written comment or call your counselor between now and February 10th.
Anybody else have any comments? Go ahead, let me hear.
Through you, Mayor Logo, I agree with your comments. I think I realized too, through the discussion, that we don't want to hold this up. I do like the idea. I mean, we are going to continue to get comments. I have had comments. And I think it's after the budget to have a public meeting just to discuss different positions, what all went into planning the budget, just so the public is aware of what all the moving pieces are when we're putting it together. So I would concur with your thoughts as well. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mike?
Yes, through you, Mayor. So I agree with your comment and Madam Clerk with the timelines and stuff. For me, mainly the portion of the for the meeting would be to inform the public where we're sitting, not necessarily what we've done with the budget, but where we're sitting and where we should be sitting, and the challenges that we have coming up with with the budgets in the past few years and this one also. So, and give the residents an opportunity to understand that, and because I know we're sitting here, this is our third year, and we're trying to not dip into the residents' pockets as much as we can, but at the same time, we got to run this municipality. So I think they need a lot more information than just, their taxes went up $33 a month. So that's my main concern that I would like to have for the meeting. Now, Madam Clerk, you mentioned that we could send out a letter with the tax bill. Could we maybe put our heads together on what that information could be in that tax letter?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, so the tax newsletter insert is an operational piece that we handle in-house at a staffing level. We're always open to hearing any ideas for newspaper. Of course, that communication between council and residents is always key. So if you're hearing key themes, please pass that on to us and we can take that in consideration when we build the newsletter. The current newsletter is already at the printers. So so that one's going off, but we do have a section in there, as I mentioned yesterday, advertising the 2020 budget process, as well as a direct link to the budget package and the meeting links. So that is going in there and that will hit resident mailboxes, hopefully before the February 10th, but it might be nip and tuck just based on delivery schedules. But that's going out. We do have a newsletter that would go out in June as well with the June insert. So we could do a bigger blurb there as well in terms of what the tax implications, or sorry, the budget overview, a budget snapshot, an infographic type accounting on what I just received one from Hamilton Township yesterday, actually, on the budget overview and the impact to ratepayers.
So I would be okay if we could do something like that. And then what the mayor suggests, that we have a public meeting down the road to inform residents of what the hurdles we're going to have for our 2026 budget.
So, just one question, so that probably is good for June, so we could have a meeting in July or anytime like that. Ms. Clerk?
And through you, Mr. Mayor, as well, just reiterating what I mentioned yesterday, once the budget is approved, that's when the work for staff really starts. So whether it's departmental managers, they go off and start implementing their approvals. From a corporate services and communication standpoint, as I mentioned, we'll have media releases, we'll have those infographics, the Facebook post, the website updates showing those high level overviews, the breakdowns of where your dollar is going. So that communication piece will still happen as part of the budget process. So even though budget's approved, it doesn't actually finish for us from a communication standpoint, if that helps alleviate any concerns you have. We don't have to wait until July to start talking about something we approved in February.
Oh, no.
So,
No,
yeah,
no.
we'll get on it before then.
But I was more status for the team regarding things going in the future. So we need a recommendation.
If, through you, Mr. Mayor, if council is looking to implement the public meeting consultation, we would need a motion to put that into play. If you've decided amongst yourselves, if nobody wants to do the public meeting at this point, then you just receive the verbal update for information and we can move forward at that point.
Mayor Logo, question through you to the clerk then. So if we want to get the message out to the general public, this is the constructive, most effective way to have your voice heard before we finalize. And we're doing that through our social media or other. Do we need any sort of resolution on that? Or is that sort of, you've heard the idea, now it's operations?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to weigh in on that one, that's something that we'll just take away from. And when we do our next post, we'll just say, do that extra little bit and go a little further and saying, if you have comments, reach out to any member of council, or you can submit a delegation or correspondence through the clerk's office, and we'll get it forward for the next meeting. So we can just take that on board away from you. Take it away.
Go ahead. Councilor O'Neill.
Would it be possible then, instead of a formal delegation, that people could have an opportunity to just comment in the way that we just had a public meeting and they could comment rather than it being as formalized as a delegation? And I'm just meaning at the beginning of February 10th. And I don't think that's the most effective because it's really too late for council to think about it when we're already sitting there. But just written comments coming in sooner rather than later is probably most helpful to us.
Somebody wants to say. I don't.
No, I'm not suggesting a separate meeting, just that the delegation section be maybe not as formalized as sometimes. But I know that even though if somebody showed up, we can at that point give them permission if we so choose. So that's an option as well.
Well, it can only be three people in the delegation. Maximum of 3 delegations that have to be registered with the clerk before we start, right? The delegation. So we got to move in a second. Oh, yeah, just
Thank you.
did we move in a second? I need to move in a second to receive for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Ismail, all in favor? Just all in favor?
So hang on. So can you clarify what we're doing here again? Because I don't know if you guys are, I want to make sure we're clarifying it for the, if we're going to have a meeting or we're just going to receive this for information.
For information, and then we can go on and say, yes, we're going to have a meeting in July. Or after.
Yeah.
After the information, so, correct? Now we decided.
That we're going to have a meeting in July.
Well, after.
Yeah.
The meeting, yes, better information.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, as an alternative, just thinking about the meetings and the reporting that we do have coming down the play. So we do have a 6-month update that we will be doing on the strategic plan, and part of that, so that would be a presentation to council at that point, an update, and including in that would be the budget piece of it. So we could tie in to that meeting that's already going on, the piece about the financial outlook of the township. And hopefully by then we'll have a treasurer in place who's had a chance to peruse and look at all the information and bring that, sort of the state of the township forward, that sort of report. So that's something that's already identified in our strat plan, are those mid-year reports. So at this point, you can do a formal motion to get that meeting, but that is something that's already sort of in the works. So you could just let it lie and we can roll with it. Again, knowing that this conversation has happened. Through you, Mr. Mayor, right now you're just, you have a motion on the floor to receive for information by Councillor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth.
No. I'd like to make it more formal. So we have well, I would like to make it so that we have that meeting in July. So we separate public meeting in July.
Moment from Ms. Wood. Okay. Well, what we have to do is amend our original motion. So Deputy Mayor Stover is prepared to amend the resolution.
The only comment I would have with amending it, I'm not sure if I've got the sun here. I'm not sure if July is the right month to have it. A lot of holidays, people coming and going. I'm not sure if is September too late or is June a better date? I'm not sure. That's the only comment I would have there.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments on that? Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
Through you to Counselor Ainsworth, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better to just receive this today and then take the time and bring back at the next meeting a motion that really, once you've had a chance to really flesh out exactly what you want, and then it'll be there and we can vote on it at that point if you were okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine, I
There's
guess.
something in the background.
That's-
Receive and file. Thank you.
All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Motion is carried. I have had a request from the CAO to add another, quick part to the agenda. And what he'd like to do is update us on the snow, that we received overnight. Before we can do that, we need a motion to add that to the agenda. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. All in favor? Motion's carried. Davey. you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Logal, and through you to council and to our residents. The last several hours have we've certainly felt the force of a significant windstorm that resulted in a lot of blowing snow. Our public works crews were out last night to the extent of their hours till about 7:30, 8 p.m. And then we're sent home. Two of our lead hands were back in at 1:30, and then the rest of our crews were back in early this morning. There by 9 a.m. this morning, there was still some roads, north-south roads, south of Highway 2 for sure, that were still impassable. We've had to contract a couple of tractors with snow blowers to at least get a pathway started down some of the roads that experienced significant drifting. Just to bring to your attention that we are expecting a significant event again this evening with upwards of 10 centimeters of snow in Grafton, followed by up to 60-kilometer-an-hour winds tomorrow during the day. So we do expect the next 24 to 48 hours to be fairly significant here. And just to let everybody know to use the appropriate precautions. Not all of our roadways are passable at all times, especially when we have a significant event like this. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Do we notify the public in any way that there's a significant weather issue coming up?
So the weather network is for that. If we have road closures or our services are going to be delayed, then we have avenues to post that through our website and on social media. Sometimes it will appear that our crews are doing a great job by way of the timing of a weather event. Our crews typically work every day from 7 a.m. through till 4 or 5 p.m. as a standard. On the township roads, we do not provide 24-hour coverage. We provide coverage as we can and are regulated through the evaluation of what road it is. If you're considering our number one roads, those are usually owned and maintained by the county, and those roads do have 24-hour service.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Dave.
The only comment I would add, Mayor Logal, is something that you brought to, and that was winds. That was going to be our area, and that is being consistently moving forward here. I've never driven in that kind of wind as I did yesterday.
And what you're referring to, I think my comment,
Climate change and wind.
Yes, and funny how you mentioned that. I was on County Road 23 last night going home from the meeting, and just north of the 401, there was a truck and a trailer coming towards me. And fortunately, it was from here to 3 or 4 times the wall, so it was probably 300 feet away. The truck was coming perfectly like it should. The trailer was way off to the side, and it was only the wind that was pushing them way over there. And, you know, he did get it straightened out before I got there, but he waved and said, kind of that wave, so it was, you know, something to think about. Yes, it was. Okay. Going along our next item on the agenda is to move to a closed session. I'll read the resolution that the Municipal Planning Regular Council meeting of January 28, 2025 move into a closed session under Municipal Act Section 239(2) regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, advice that is subject to the solicitor-client privilege, and including communications necessary for that purpose. Further comment, site plan application and staffing matters. So let's take, can I get mover and seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. All in favor? That's approved. Let's take a 10-minute break.